Okay, so look, first of all, thank y'all. It is a Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday. So I'm so glad to have this beautiful queen here to talk about some wellness and definitely mental health. So I am going to go off of myself. Hi, everyone. I am April Banks, and I am a veteran. I am the founder, CEO. I feel like I got a whole bunch of hats going on, but of Intimacy Magazine. I started this magazine because after during the pandemic, because we're still in the pandemic, I feel that it took a toll a lot for the African American community, but just everyone as an individual. And I want people to understand that it's not a color thing, it's not an age thing, it's not a gender thing, it's not a thing. Just like to pinpoint on individuals in that way. So now today we got Ro. That's definitely you may see from the upcoming season, new season of 60 Days In. So thank you, Ro, for joining us.
Thank
I
you guys for
appreciate
having
you.
me. Thank
Yes. So, like, before we even get started, I told Ro we're going to talk about 60 Days In just for like a second, because the whole
you.
point of this is so we can talk about her mission, her reform, individuals from coming from prison to putting them in suits. And I want her to go into that. But I wanted to ask Ro, how were you able to go back after dealing with that mentally and knowing you're going to go back and try to help in the way that you want to help? How did you do that?
I'm glad you asked me that. It was definitely taking control of my mental state
Mm,
first off,
mm-hmm,
because it put me in a state of mind where I remember where I went to federal prison. So when I went into federal prison, it was horrible. Like I broke down. Like anything that was going on with somebody's child on TV, whether they got kidnapped or whatever, I
mm.
think it was my kid.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I really had to stop watching the news because I was turned into a full blown nutcase. So
Mm,
going back to do this,
mm-hmm,
I had to remove myself out of the equation
mm-hmm.
mentally,
Yeah,
because if I let my own mental thoughts take control, then I wasn't going to be able to go in and participate or do anything.
yeah,
There is
yeah,
a lot of things that happen.
yeah.
There will be a lot that you guys will see that will happen. So, but I'll leave that to for you guys to watch and enjoy. But it was definitely taking control of my mind and my whole process of going in. And something that they haven't shown on the show, which I mean, it's no secret. It's not like I'm throwing anything out there, but
Mm-hmm,
if you
mm-hmm,
follow me on TikTok or any other social media, you'll see that I have an 8-month-old baby. So
mm-hmm,
I went in, my baby was getting ready to turn 3 months old.
mm.
So it definitely was surreal, is what I will say.
Yeah, that's, and being a mom, you know, that's just challenging itself, and going back in reverse mode. Um, yeah, and
Yeah,
missing that is that's we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as women and moms because we want to do everything, like literally be in charge of everything. So again, I kudos to you for um, going back. But your initial going back is to go back and help other people, in which you're still doing. People like
yes.
I'm a clap it up, because we need that in the community. In the community I'm saying is the mental health community. So I want Ro to go and tell us about going from prison suits to power suits.
So I started Prison Suit to Power Suit off of a whim. What
Mm,
happened was someone invited me on a podcast, and that was the name that they chose. And I
mm,
said, you know what? That's a very catchy name, because for me, I didn't see it as me coming over a victory or
mm,
fighting a victory per se. I
mm,
just saw it as my intentions have always been pure when it comes to helping people. But I thought, let me try to start a YouTube channel so that I can get people engaged to understand that they're not in this alone. Like
mm,
they have someone such as myself that's listening and hearing them and want to
mhm,
give them resources and tools. And I want them to understand that while they're going through their battle, I was too. Because
mhm,
when the feds were on me, like they were on me for 5 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so every phone call that was coming through that I knew was their number, it really made me go from a high to a super low, heart racing. I'm gonna go to jail right now or prison. Every moment that they called or had something new that they found out about me, it
Mhm.
really tore my pride down.
Yeah.
So mentally for 5 years, I was in shambles. Like, understand, I had already lost both of my homes. I lost all
Mm.
my vehicles. I became homeless. And it hurt me because taking my children through such a dire situation, that's not something that I wanted to do. I
Right.
really wanted, I didn't want my kids to know what it felt like to go through something like that.
Hmm.
So I really had to be the bigger person and take part and take control of my will.
Yeah. And I'm glad you gave us a insight of how it started for you. Because when we trying to do things off of just a whim and just want to help people and go into things blindly, like such as businesses, like we weren't really taught, hey, you start from here and then you do this, and especially when you're suffering from mental illness, like with me, we're having OCD and anxiety and PTSD, we are very impromptu going head first and then think later. We're like, I'm gonna do it now. And so it's like you're in that process of like, okay, I want to get this business started. I want to help people in the community to make sure your point in your mind wasn't to I'm just going to do this, then X, Y, and Z and commit, tax fraud. Your thing was I want to go in there and help my community, help them understand how and why it's important to have your taxes done, not knowing that you, on the other hand, are being looked at, and
Yeah.
that's scary at the end of the day. And how did you come about to get out of that? Like, do you still feel those types of triggers, when it comes down to dealing with your mental health and
And
bringing it on to
not necessarily. I think I've sort of gained control of it a little.
that's
And the
good.
only reason why I don't fear anything right now as far as the feds or anything is because I don't have anything out there that I'm doing that's gonna place me in that position because I became permanently disbarred from doing it. But I do
Mhm,
want to piggyback on something that you did say that piqued
mhm,
my interest high when you said about the OCD. I
mhm.
want people to understand about that. Now, when I was in prison, I didn't know I had like an OCD problem until I came home. And when I came
Wow.
home, I would clean and
Mhm,
bleach, and nothing was perfect. Like you can drop something on the floor, and I'm sitting way somewhere else. If I see it, I have to get up and get it out the way. And
mhm,
it came to the point where it's like me having now understand I'm not diagnosed with OCD, but it was a
mhm.
form that was coming on
Right.
that for me, it's like cleaning made me feel happy.
Mhm,
And for me, going through depression, cleaning made me
mhm,
feel happy.
mhm,
It was my way of coping.
mhm.
So I didn't use it as a way to say, I'm going to give up, I'm going to stay in a room, and I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
My depression is totally different. I have
Mhm.
to be very active when I'm depressed.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, very active because if not, I'd be one of the ones that just sit in a room and just waste away. But
Yeah.
mine's different, which I didn't know it could be that way.
That's
You
a
know,
good thing.
yeah, yeah,
Child, you
that's
know, it's like one of it's like I'll take the active
that's true. Yeah,
because being in the I'm the reverse. I'll do all of it, all of the above. I'll go clean. There's nothing ever of a standard, but you're getting that one spot and it's a trigger, and it's like
yeah.
I don't even want to clean. Yours, on the other hand, is like
I
let
gotta
me go
clean
sweep
it.
the floor.
Yep.
That's your,
Let me,
so
I've
it.
even gotten to mop the walls. Like,
Oh,
I mean, a
okay. Let me give
separate
you my
mop.
address offline. Okay, you see.
I'm
Let me give you my address, girl.
I'm serious, but I'll also share with the world that in prison while I was incarcerated, because I know we're speaking of my previous incarceration,
Yes.
they do have programs that first I was like, you know what, I don't need this. I don't need it. Not knowing I really was messed up because I had a brother that got killed in a car wreck back in 2015, and it was unexpected. So something started triggering me when I went to prison, which was I didn't want my children and family to come and drive on the road to see me.
Mhm.
Because in my mind, because my brother had got killed in a car wreck,
Mhm.
everybody that's driving my children, they were going to die. Everybody
Mhm.
that's driving, they're not doing it right. I have to be the one driving because if something happens, I can take control of the wheel. I'm
Yeah.
serious.
Yeah.
So I really had to go. I pushed myself to go to those classes, and they showed me how to go in and deal with coping. They gave me coping mechanisms and
Yes.
tools to work with to take control of it. I'm not even as bad anymore. Now, if the kids want to go somewhere, I don't hold them back. It's bye.
Yeah.
But at first, we don't see it as a problem. But
Yeah.
I'll never forget, and I hate to be a chatty Cathy, but
No, this is what we're here so people can understand. Like
yeah,
everyone that all because you have a mental illness, diagnosed or not diagnosed, at the end of the day, everyone deals with it and handles it differently. There's not a book, that says, "Hey, look, you're gonna have this trigger and you're supposed to act like this." Like just like you were saying the depression and OCD.
hmm
I'm sitting in the corner and I'm like, "Well, is me," and you're like, "I'm about to go and paint some walls,"
yeah,
and
oh
yours is an active thing. So no, we're here so you can tell us about your brand, about prison suits and going into now power suits, but also people understanding that, yeah, look, I was incarcerated before, and this is what I had to deal with being inside mentally, and then coming home and trying to adjust to the same and want to be the same mentally.
right.
So no, you go ahead, chat away. I'm here for you, and the listeners and viewers are here to hear your story. That's what it's for.
Yeah, I had a girl that worked in my office, and her son ended up getting killed in a car wreck. And this was
Mm,
before my brother. It was
mhm.
years before. But I didn't understand where if we would go out and get something to eat or drive anywhere, she would want to drive, and me, I'm like, girl, go ahead, drive me
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
But not understanding she was going through something, and it was a
Mhm,
traumatic experience, a traumatic response to what
mhm,
she was going through. Was if she drove it would help her because if she was in that situation, what she would do. And in my mind, that's what I thought because I went through the same thing,
mhm,
because that happened. It's like, what could have been different with my brother, driving, what could have happened,
mhm.
just all these things that I could not have done anything about, you know.
Nothing. And then we're driving ourselves mentally,
hmm
in a different spot because we're like, well, I wish I was there during this time. I wish I was able to do this during this time. At the end of the day, we don't know when we're going to go. And unfortunately, his time was shorter than what you and your family expected him to be here for.
Yeah.
And still to this day, I'm sure you guys deal with that. That's a life, that's, PTSD. People seem to think it's just, the military. And I always explain that it's not just the military. It's anything that happened traumatic in your life that can cause it. So, her trying to be in control, it was like you were already there before. You've been through this before, dealing with that and trying to let your kids go back into the hands of other people that you can trust, but you can't trust yourself enough to let them just go. And so she had to go through the same thing. So I appreciate that you were actually being there in that sense because sometimes people that suffer, it's hard to find that help, and I
Yeah.
think that's where we're at now as a society. It's so hard to find someone that wants to be an active listener.
Yes, and that and also like even with that situation, like I said, I didn't know it was anything that was triggering for me. Prison also prompts a PTSD
Mhm.
situation because I didn't realize, guys, that when I came home from prison, I never came out the room. And I
Mm.
couldn't go into stores. Like I've never been like that. Like I'm a very open person. If you met me out in the streets, I'm like, oh hey girl, hey,
Hey, hey, right.
coming home from prison, it doesn't work like that. And I really want to break away, but I couldn't. I stayed in the room all day. I was content and comfortable. And it wasn't like I can say, like in prison, I can't say, oh, well, we stayed in cells all day long. That's not true. We were
Mhm.
outside every day. I mean, you go to rec, you go to the law library, you go to church, you have things that you can do. So
Right.
I moved around a whole lot, like everyone knew me. But when I
Right.
came home, it was like I can't explain it. I was confined.
Right, right. And I'm glad you touched on the law thing because I heard and I've been snooping and you're doing a paralegal program or you're a paralegal now?
I am a paralegal now.
Ooh, ooh, I
Yeah,
love that.
while I was in prison, I was. I mean, this just came about like it was
Yeah.
crazy because while I was incarcerated, I would help a lot of people with their
Hmm.
cases, not
Okay.
knowing that it was going to win, and it did. So with me, I was like, you know what? I think I can easily do this myself. So
Right.
any money that came in from my family, instead of
Mhm.
me going in getting little Debbie's and all this and all that, I
Mhm.
actually invested in my career, my education. I also invested in, they had a Justice Federal Credit Union, which allows inmates to go in and put money into a savings. I took it upon myself to do that because I didn't want to be one of the ones that snacked and came out big as a house. When I came
Wow.
home, if you go through some of my Instagram when I first came home, I
Mhm.
was really small.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I think like in prison or jail, you lose so much weight for whatever reason.
Mhm.
That's what happened with me. I lost a lot of weight because I wasn't really going through anything, but
Mhm.
I wanted to take my money and put my money where it was supposed to be at, and that's
Yeah.
investing in myself.
Oh, you know what? I love that. And you see that a lot of times with people that have been in prison before, been in jail before, they come out and they turn their life into other professionals.
Hmm.
Not, like just like you, like a law, a paralegal. You have some that turn into lawyers, some that turn into, judges. There is nothing but a plethora of life, but I think sometimes people feel like when you're in jail, you're there, or you're incarcerated, you're just there. And unfortunately, when you came back out, you still felt confined, but you still prepared yourself while you were in. So I love how you did that, because people aren't thinking that,
No,
people are thinking, they see stuff on TV and they automatically think that's what it is. So I appreciate you even just going into detail to let us know, hey, look, there's a credit union in there. Like, you can save some money in there. You giving other people that don't know that information and educating, because everything on social media is shared.
yeah,
Someone that's in prison may even see your live and be like, oh, you know what? I can go to the credit union and open up a bank account because a lot of people probably don't even know that they can open up a bank account. So I
and
love that you're doing that, educating us on that.
yeah, and that's another thing. While I was there, and I'm glad you said I didn't mean to be rude and interrupt. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, 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 no.
I know that when I taught women's empowerment classes, because I was a teacher while I was incarcerated, I would give them that information and they had no clue. So it's like when they got ready to come to my class, everybody was pumped,
Mhm.
motivated, the class stayed full. And for whatever reason, I call home like, okay, can you give me this? Give me the information on this. What's the email address? We don't need the phone number. We need the email address. So I go in and actually put all of this together and come to the class. And although my heart is like, because there's so many
Right,
people. I'm like,
right, right,
let me just do it. And I
right.
share and share and share because in there you are limited on resources. You have to have someone that's active on the outside who's willing to listen. And that's where I come into play. For me, call me, text me, email me, whatever I can do. I've assisted sending books in, pictures, even with motions and cases and stuff. Just let
Mm,
me know what I can do to help. I don't mind helping if I have the time. Because lately
right.
I'm so busy.
Because she's over here booked and busy, okay? I'm just saying, look, there's no wrong
Yeah,
being booked and busy, okay?
busy. Yes.
It's okay to be booked and busy, but you booked and busy doing the right thing. You know what I mean? So, I was speaking to someone recently on a podcast and explaining to them, I think it was recently on Saturday, the grief tribe men, that we go through so much in life that you really don't know what you're supposed to be doing. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna dip my toe in this and dip my toe in this. And then you're like, okay, God, wait a minute. I thought I wanted to be this. I wanted to be this and do this and do this. And then it comes back full circle. And it's like when you feel like your heart is giving in which you're doing, then I feel like that's when you know this is what you're supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. I agree. Like I said, for me, the paralegal just fell into my laps because it's like I never knew that that would be something in my future.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like for me, it was like basic things, something basic to do.
Right.
But when you're incarcerated, you're not thinking that this is something that's so simple. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? You try to run to the person that has an expertise in that area who can
Mm-hmm.
help you. So that's why they have prison lawyers, prison
Mm-hmm.
attorneys, and
Mm-hmm.
I was considered as a prison attorney. The lieutenant walked up to me and was like, "Hey Harris, nice work.
I
We need
love it. I love it. I mean, because they probably don't get that as often. You know what I mean? Like, when you build that bond and that trust, and it's like, hey, look, you in there for a different reason to try to, help others, then it's different. I'm gonna come to you. I'm gonna be that prison lawyer. I'm gonna be that judge, however they have it in jail or in prison. So, you don't get that. And
yeah,
then at the end of the day, it's still part of the active listening. That CO was actively listening and seeing what you was doing for the community, which was you're in prison. You were affecting, making changes in your community at that time. So you know, just imagine how many people were dealing with mental stress because they were trying to get a hold of the information so quickly, but then you end up turning it around and, dissecting into it and then regurgitating it out and giving it to everybody else that they didn't have to feel. Just imagine how much stress you probably relieved off a lot of those people getting that additional information, that email that they didn't think they was going to be able to get. So I think you're at where you're supposed to be, as far as like servicing your community the way that you are. And it's a beautiful thing to see, that you're doing that. So tell us about the prison suits to power suits. Tell us more and how can we get more information about that?
I'm actually on YouTube from prison suit to power suit. Basically, all it's about is controlling your mental psyche while you're in there. I've also done some videos creating this classical music that you can listen to, kind of soothing. And I do a voiceover talking, you telling you you're loved, you're worthy.
Wow.
You're the person right now. This is
Yes.
this is your world. You
Yes.
captivate everything. Anything you touch is yours. So I
Man.
try to push it out there as much as I can because you have to mentally be prepared and focus for anything these days. I mean, every day you wake up is a task and a chance.
Mhm.
So I talk a lot about that. I do talk about a lot about the show,
Mhm.
but I also am there to talk about empowerment. And I talk about my struggles as far as what I had gone through
Mhm.
in prison and trying not to revert back to old ways because sometimes, like when I first come home, it was very difficult getting a job,
Yeah.
very difficult because when
Yeah.
they run your background and you have something on there, automatically you're turned down. And it put me back into the mindset. And I didn't share a video on there to where I talk about, oh, I've gotten to the point where I want to go back because I can easily go on Craigslist and do yada, 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 and then I'll be
See,
back. But
see,
yeah,
no, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, like, see, like, that's probably why you have a lot of people that are career criminals because they can't feel like they can fit in with society mentally.
the thing is this also, society paints this picture to say, oh, well, we want to help the prison community. We want to give them a chance, those that want to. We want
Mhm.
to help everyone. We want to give that second chance at life. Yet
Mhm.
they're the main ones that turn around and shut us down. I can
Mhm.
tell you that people who were formerly incarcerated, they will work hard.
Mhm.
They will go above and beyond to be your best worker.
Mhm.
But you have to stop the stereotype saying,
Mhm.
oh, that because you're a convicted felon, once a felon, always a felon. That is not true. All we
Mhm.
need is opportunity. So that's what my platform speaks about, the opportunity, how to persuade you to understand and believe that you're worthy. This doesn't have to define you. You define
Mhm.
your character. So I also put out how to start a business from start to scratch. From start to scratch. From scratch.
We know what you're talking about.
But I go in, and this, you don't even have to be a convicted felon,
Mhm.
to get this information. It's just someone that has the willpower to
Mhm.
understand what to do. And I just want to guide you in the right direction. And if I can't, just send me a message and I'll go on there and try to say, hey, listen, I'll find it, and then I'll do my next video based on what you asked me
I
for.
love that.
I want to deliver.
I love that. And you deliver it, ma'am. I mean, because I'll be on your YouTube. I'm subscribed. Y'all need to go and subscribe, okay? Go and subscribe. Let them know what this good looks. Look, this is what
It's,
happens when you're
yeah,
at work all day.
you can. I know, right? You can go on YouTube from Prison Suit to Power Suit. I also have a TikTok under Rojonah Harris Official, as well as Instagram, which is Rojonah Harris Official as well, and Facebook, Rojonah Harris. So yeah, just easy peasy, just my name.
I love that. And I love that before we close out, I love how you were saying, when you come out of prison, it's hard to get a job. And it's similar to like when you come out as the military, because I'm prior military, and it was the most difficult thing because you're so mentally trained a different way than society or civilians, as we would say,
Mhm.
are trained. We're trained this way. We're at this standard. It's a different standard than it is, considered the outside world. So when you're coming home from being in all these different locations, deployments, or just being in a different station than where you lived and trying to get another job, it's like, well, for 30 years you've been doing law enforcement. And it's like, well, how do and then you want to convert over, but then you keep getting those doors shut at times because you don't have the experience in data entry. And it's like, well, I have to have 30 years of data entry in order to get the job. So it's just like coming out as a convicted felon. So, and I got to show you 30, data entry to get the job. So at the end of the day, I feel it's kind of like a similar background. The only difference is that you get a title veteran and
Yeah,
that now you have a preference. But other than that, it's like the same thing. It's very challenging at times because I was law enforcement. So me going from law enforcement, I came out and I had to do law enforcement again. And I was like, I don't want to do law enforcement again.
right.
I don't want to come out and do it again. I want something that has more stability for your family, And so that takes a mental toll on you. And that's why I said it makes you just want to go back. It's quicker to go back. Like, oh, okay, let me just go back into the military. Just as
It,
it is, it's like, let me just go back to jail. Let me just go ahead and rob and just go back to jail where I know I'm going to have some type of, structure that's going on and they don't mind taking me. In their mind, that's what they're thinking.
yeah, because I remember when you say that I had a girl that I was incarcerated with. She told me, she said, "Well, how much do you owe?" I said, "I owe $1.1 million." She was like, "And they only gave you 2.5 years?" Well, I'm gonna have to do that because 2.5 years is nothing. I'm like, what?
Right? That's what I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm
Yeah,
just saying
it's
at the end of the day,
crazy.
everybody looks at it different because it's a different type of structure. And when people aren't subject to give you the information, then people feel like there aren't any resources. So that's why one, I started Mental Intimacy magazine because there isn't enough resources for mental health. We see, okay, yeah, I want something that you're able to reach. I want to be reachable to people. Not so much that, I'm a celebrity. I want to be somewhere where it can still be community, it can be out of my community and someone else's community, but it's accessible to everyone. And I love that that's how your brand is accessible to anybody. Look, I'm on YouTube. Hey, look, go subscribe on my YouTube. Go to her Twitter. I mean, go to her TikTok. Go to
Yeah,
her YouTube. DM her. Sis is
yes,
available. I'm gonna tell y'all now, okay? Because her
yeah,
and I be DMing all day and all night.
yeah.
But she's available. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, that's what we need. We need people that are active listeners in that mental health community, and especially for those that are suffering from mental health. You just need someone to listen to you and listen and not have the feedback all the time. Like just be that active listener.
I absolutely agree. And I also like to add this before we conclude everything. I also wrote 3 books. I wrote 4, but I have 3 that's published on Amazon. One is called "In Finding the Impossible Me." And
Mm,
basically, I talk about things that have happened and came to pass, but under manifestation. But I also teach you how to quiet the mind inside the book. So I'm not
mm,
trying to stale because I've already accomplished creating the book. I wasn't expecting anything to come out of it.
Mhm.
My goal was to write a book, that was it.
Right.
But it's actually really good because I go piece by piece to help you understand how to quiet the mind. So yeah.
Yeah,
Get
the
that book.
mine's yeah, look, hello, hello. Hey, get it. Okay. It's gonna be in my story soon or in her
Okay.
stories. And then
Yeah.
just tag me. But no, I'm just saying, I love what you're doing. Keep
Thank
doing what you're doing. I'm gonna follow what you're doing anyway. I'm gonna just tell y'all real quick. Sis found me on Twitter, okay? Because I was like, what is going on here? Y'all really need to follow me on the other one. That's a different whole person. But I
you.
was just like, what is going on here? Like what? And then I was like, girl, God bless your soul. When they talk about the girl in that in the jail and
Oh,
she
yeah, was
was
it
kicking
Steve?
this. I said, you know what? But y'all need to tune to find out because I'm not about to tell y'all what's going on. Okay, thank you, bro, for coming
You.
in. Oh my God, y'all go and check her out
Yeah,
tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, right on
yeah,
A and
8,
E.
9 Central on A&E. You can watch
Yes.
60 Days In where you'll see me, your girl Ro, live and in person on there. And I don't know what's going to happen on this episode, but I'm
Oh,
waiting just like you guys are.
I can't wait because I'm going to be diving there. All right. Thank you guys. And I appreciate you all. Thanks, Ro.
Thank you. Thanks for
All
having
right,
me.
my dear.